Avnisan? Avnisan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so I took care of it, so whenever you need it, I'll pay you back the one.
Okay, thank you, Shkaya.
Thank you very much. It's good.
Okay. Just a second, I'm sorry. Okay. So, yeah, we're in the middle of the sugya. I'm sorry, you're also going slow today. We're not going to do a full daf today. Just finish off yesterday's daf. Bezos Hashem. So, also, I'm not so fluent in it, so we'll do it together like yesterday to work it out. The Gemara is talking about put up this diagram again. We had some diagram that the Gemara's issue is about the Chavesh and Aktana. Both of them are Kedushin D'Rabbanan. The Rambam points out that they invented the Kedushin D'Rabbanan for different reasons. The Aktana is because she shouldn't be Hefker, that she doesn't have a father and she's not married. The Chavesh says because she should be able to get married in her lifetime, or else she wouldn't be able to get married. Not after that she'd be Hefker. And therefore, maybe they made different Gedarim for the two types of marriages. And that was the Gemara's discussion yesterday. One of them is going to be what we call a half a marriage. One of them is going to be all or nothing, means a suffix if it's all or nothing. And the Gemara's discussion yesterday, which one is which? And the way the Gemara was leaning, and that seems to be the Maskana, the Gemara comes out that the Chareshes is a half a marriage. We'll call it 50% half a marriage. And the Ketana is all or nothing. It's a suffix if it's all or nothing. And then the Gemara was saying how everything works out. According to that formula, the halachas that it says about Chareshes and Ketana would make sense, and the opposite wouldn't make sense. We're in the middle of one of the points of proving this. And one of the, this was more or less, this was one, I'm sorry, that's getting confused. This was one of the cases we spoke about. I just made a red line just to show where the Yibum is happening or not. So here the case was, there was two brothers married to two sisters. One is a Hareshes, one is a Ketana. And the first case was where the husband of the Ketana died. And therefore the question is, could the husband of the Hareshes do Yibum or Chalitza? And that's where it spoke about in the Brisa, Mishnah coming up today, that they both cannot. Both Hareshes and, he loses both of them. That Ketana is blocked. He can't do Yibum to her because it's a bit of a wife's sister, right? Like this is the one who has to do the Yibum, but it's his wife's sister. And therefore it says over there that Ketana has to get Tamtin title for Tachlitz, that they should wait until Tachlitz. But he also is usher to his wife because it's a Chos Kukasa. That was the Mezbala Shal Ketana, right? He loses his wife, and also the Ketana has to get Chalitza in that first case. Achos Kukasa, right? This is a Kuka. He's a Kuka to her, so he can't stay with his wife. It's not a real wife. If it would have been a full wife, so then he just tells the sister-in-law, goodbye, I have my wife's sister, and there's no Yibum. But it's not a real wife. It's only a Hareshes. So therefore, he can't stay with her anymore because it's a Chos Kukasa. He loses his wife, and also he has to give a get. He has to wait till she becomes a Gedola, and then give her Chalitza. That was the first case. Second case was the opposite case, that the husband of the Hareshes died. And on that, the Brisa said, again, what's happening? That the husband of the Ketana now, question, what does he do to the Hareshes? The Hareshes can't get Chalitza, that she's blocked, she can't get a Chalitza. So it says that he also loses his wife. Here he loses his Ketana because it's a Chos Kukaso. As much as it is, she is a Skuka to him, and even as Rabbanan, half a marriage, whatever it might be, but that's going to block his marriage to his wife, becomes a Chos Kukaso. But it does say that the Hareshes is Asur L'Olam. That's what it says, that she has no way out because she can't get Chalitza. And there's also no Yibum because it might be his wife's sister. The way the Gemara explained yesterday, we had the two choices. Here we were working it out. In this case, we were working out the half marriage and the all or nothing. And the Gemara said that the truth is that Chareshes is half a marriage and the Ketana is all or nothing. And therefore, he cannot do Yibum to the Chareshes because maybe it's his wife's sister. if the wife is the katana is all or nothing, on the side that it's a nothing, fine. But on the side that it's everything, it's a wife, so it's a full wife's sister, and he wouldn't be able to do yibum. And therefore, and on that, the Gemara says the Bryce ends off. But if he did marry her, he shouldn't have. He shouldn't have married her because it might be his wife's sister. But it says that if he did, so then he can give her a get, and she could get free. Means really, we tell him don't do anything, can't marry her, and she's aguna for life. She has no way to get out of this because she can't do chalitza, she can't get yibum. Usually, when we don't have such a case because there's always the option of yibum. Here, the fact that she's a chareshes, she can't get a chalitza, and here she can't get yibum because it's a wife's sister, somewhat of a wife's sister. A suffix if it's a wife's sister. If it would be a wife's sister, she wouldn't need anything. She could go free, but we're not sure. Either is this katana married or not? Means it all or nothing. On the side that it's a nothing, so then he should do yibum. But on the side that it's a wife's sister, then he can't have relations with her. But on this, the Bryce ended off. But if he made a mistake or he didn't ask questions and he did have relations with her, so then he can give her a get and she can go free. Why is that? Because on the side that's not that the katana is a nothing. Is she wasn't married at all. So then fine, he should do yibum, and now he can give her a get if he wants to. Even on the side that she was a sister, that she was a full marriage, it's all. So then there was no mitzvah of yibum in the first place. She was free anyway. So Ma'av should be able to go free. That's what the Brisa said, and the Gemara explained according to the green template that she's a half a wife and she's all or nothing. Everything makes sense. But what the Gemara left off was, what if it would be the opposite? It would be the red template. We have the red template over here. This is the red template. If we'd say that the katana is half a marriage and the chareshes is a all or nothing, so what do we say about that? So the Gemara here had a problem. In this bottom case, the Gemara had a problem that it wouldn't work. If the katana is a half a marriage and the charesh is all or nothing. So the fact that he has to divorce his wife and she's stuck also makes sense. If we work it out, if everybody could help me, how do we work it out? That the katana is a half a marriage, and chareshes is all or nothing. If it's a nothing, so then there's a nothing. Fine. She never was married to the first husband either. Then there's nothing. Then there's no problem. She'd be able to go free. But on the side that it's a marriage, so then there's a real zik over here. He really has to do yibum. But the katana will say that that's a half a marriage and that's interfering. So he can't. The half a marriage is making it a bit of a wife's sister, and therefore he's not allowed to do yibum. So far makes sense. So she's stuck. This woman is stuck. That also makes sense according to this template. Also, the opposite would be that and how about the katana? The katana again that he can't stay with her because it's a close kukasa, right? There's a kind of a zik over here on the side that. How are we going now? That she might be an all or a nothing. On side that it's a nothing, so then he can stay with his wife. But on side that there's a zik over here, he wouldn't be able to stay with his wife. All that makes sense. But all the
katana before the katana's gedolah. Why can't he divorce his children?
divorce who?
The katana. No, the charesh.
There's no question of a divorce. He has to do yibum or chalitza. This is his brother's wife. The picture's good. This is the dead brother. This is his wife. The question is a chalitza or yibum over here. So there's no chalitza because there's a chareshes, and there's no yibum because it's a bit of his wife's sister.
There's no option to do.
Yeah, he's not married.
There's a question: is yibum or chalitza? She can't get chalitza because he's a chareshes.
No,
He didn't have a relationship. He didn't even get married.
So everything makes sense so far, even according to the red template, which we said is wrong. But the Gemara did say is wrong. That doesn't fit is because it says the Bryce ended off that if he did have relations with her, he shouldn't have. But if he did, it says then he can give her a get, then she can go free, and that doesn't make sense according to the red template. If you're going to say that she's chareshes is a all or nothing, and the katana is a half a marriage. If we say this is the wrong shot, and we said if that would be true, then it wouldn't make sense. Why? Because why should he not marry her? She what is she again? She's all or nothing. She's the all or nothing. If she's a nothing, then go free. If she's an all, then you have she's not the nothing's the rice. Everything's rabbanon. Everything's rabbanon. Nothing's the rice because the charesh and katan everything's rabbanon. But all means all rabbanon or nothing at all. And the half means a half rabbanon. They made her half a 50% wife. So on the side that she's an all, that means that she's he has to do yibum,
Yeah,
but
but the maybe.
the half, not a maybe, but a half.
A half.
This half is interfering.
Yeah.
So would it help to give her a get? He had relations, he shouldn't have. Would it help to give her a get? Would he be able to give her a get and go free? If she's a nothing, yeah, she can go free. But if she's a something, means if that's really a marriage and he has to do, he came to Chalitza, he has to do Yibum. Was it a Yibum? It was a Yibum that was a marred Yibum because it was a wife sister, a Chatzi wife sister. And they weren't called,
That's called the plus.
right, that's called a Bia Psula, and it wasn't a great Yibum. And could is a bad Yibum, like not a bad, call it a bad Yibum,
Yeah, you can't give
a defective Yibum. Is that enough to give a get?
No,
So that the Gemara said is a machlokes of Nechemia and Rabban.
that's not.
That's where we ended up. And the Gemara said, not terrible. First, the Gemara said that if it says that if he married her, so a get is helps, that means that this template is not working. If she'd be a all or nothing and she's a half, then it wouldn't be true that if he did have relations that he could give her a get and go free. And that we ended up yesterday that the Gemara said maybe not, because maybe the price is going according to Rabbi Nechemia that holds even a Bia Psula. It's true that he shouldn't have married her, but if he did, even though it's not the greatest marriage because there was a bit of a wife sister in the way, and he shouldn't have, but okay, it's still enough to give a get. That's what we ended yesterday. Now we're in the Gemara on the fourth wide line. And the Gemara is going to prove that this Brisa cannot be Rav Nechemia. That's what we're holding now. We don't
Proof that it's what?
that the Brisa is not Rav Nechemia.
What?
The Gemara is now gonna. So that's what is the background of yesterday. To recap, and we're holding by the subject. Is it possible to say that Rav Nechemia is the author of this Brisa?
Oh.
If it's Rav Nechemia, then the Gemara wiggled out of the proof. There was a proof. We had a proof so far that green template is right. If that's okay, if I use that terminology, that we have these two templates over here. There's the green one and the red one. The green one said.
That's Rabba, the Rabba.
I'm just trying to get that there's two templates here of the Chaveshes and the Ketana, the two kinds of marriages, and the green template means the one that we're going for is that the Chaveshes is half a marriage and the Ketana is all or nothing. And the one we're trying to disprove is the other template that said that the Chaveshes is all or nothing and the Ketana is a half. And that's what we're trying to talk about. And the way the Gemara wiggled out of it, not to say that Torah had a proof against this template, and the Gemara got wiggled out of it by saying the Brisa is on Nechemia. So now we're going to be on the search to figure out if it's possible to say to show that this Brisa is not on Nechemia. If we'll be successful in showing the Brisa is not on Nechemia, then the red template is out. That's what we're doing now. Yes, Chaim David.
No.
Okay.
So there's two different rabbis, the red template and the other template for two different.
No. The other one didn't have any template. This one just said the case. It didn't say who's who. It just says there's a Ketana and a Chaveshes. How do you look at each one? That's what we're trying to figure out. Do you look at the Ketana as all or nothing and the Chaveshes as a half, or do you look at the Chaveshes as all or nothing and the Ketana as a half? And the Gemara got wiggled out of this proof. The fact that it said that if he did do Yibum, he can give her a get and she can go free. That shows the green template. No, maybe it's the red template, but it goes according to Rav Nechemia. And we're out to figure out if that's possible to say Rav Nechemia. And now we go further. Rav Nechemia, if it's okay if I read it on in the Gemara and keep the diagram on because it's difficult to juggle, and whoever has a Gemara good, if not, then just listen to the way we as we go along. Rav Nechemia aim to say for the sefer of that Brisa is not going to fit if Rav Nechemia is the author.
Where you up to?
We're up to the Kuf Shid Aleph,
Okay.
Amud Aleph, the fourth wide line.
Fourth.
If Rav Nechemia is the author of this Brisa that holds that a Bia Psula is good enough to give a get, that a Bia Psula, even though it was not supposed to be done, but if he did it, it's still a kosher Yibum, the sefer is not going to work out. So now we're going to learn the sefer. Misha Yinasu Shtei Yisomos, Ketana V'Chaveshes, Umes. The same thing is on the diagram over here, that a man was married to two women, a Chaveshes and a Ketana Chaveshes, and he died. So everything's so far the same as this diagram. But, and what do we say? We said that he shouldn't, it says over there in the Mishnah that we had so far, said that one of them wouldn't part to the other one, even though usually they have two co-wives. So take care of one of them, the other one goes free automatically. Here, the different kinds of marriages, and taking care of one of them is not going to take care of the other one. Here the Brisa says, what if he did? What if he did? He took both of them. He did yibum with both of them. I had a little. Yeah, that's the same case. Mamish, the same diagram. Just that this man, the yavam, he did yibum with both of them. He shouldn't have. He shouldn't have. He should have done what it says. He should have done yibum and get to the chareshes and the tagged over tachlos. He shouldn't have yibum to both of them. Like we know the halach is if a man has two wives, he's not supposed to take both of them. Here, there's a problem. He can't just do to one of them, but he also shouldn't take both of them. So he did wrong. This man did wrong. He took both of them. The case was that he took the ketana first. He took the ketana first. He did yibum to the ketana first, and then he did yibum to the chareshes second.
They're not sisters.
They're not sisters. A man had two wives, one a chareshes, one a ketana, and usually we tell the yavam to take one, and the other one goes free. Here, it's not going to be good enough to take just one, and you can't take both. So that's why the Gemara told us before the eitzah would be that one of them is should do to the chareshes, also can't get a chalitza. The ketana could get chalitza, but then the chareshes is not going to be able to do yibum. So to the chareshes, if he first should have done to the chareshes yibum and given her a get, and then the ketana wait till she gets big and gets chalitza, that's what should have been done. He didn't know about all this, so he didn't listen, and he was miyabim the ketana first, and then he was miyabim the chareshes.
Oh, that doesn't use the word.
What?
It doesn't use the term miyavim.
It says
This
bo.
is
It says bo.
yibum.
Right, which is yibum.
Okay.
Right? So he had relations with the ketana first, and then he had relations with the chareshes. So the Brisa says, "Oh, shabo achabal chareshes." So not him, but a different brother did. It doesn't make a difference. So nesru shtei and alav. He's not allowed to continue being with either one of them. Why is that? Because each one, the fact that he had relations with them, passes it on the other co-wife. Means if a man has relations. Usually, when they have relations with one yevama, so it's finished. They married. The yibum is a regular full yibum, and the other one, and if he had relations with the one he shouldn't have, but it doesn't intercept the first one, they still stayed married. But over here, that it wasn't a complete yibum, so she is going to be affected by the yibum to the next wife, to the other wife. But the Gemara is going to say that let's take it slow. Let's go according to this green template that the ketana is all or nothing, and the chareshes is a half. And the case was that he had yibum with the ketana first. He had relations with the ketana first. So what are the two choices? Either it's all. If it's all, then he got his wife, and she's married to him. And even though he had relations with the ketana afterwards, with the chareshes afterwards, it's only a half. It's not going to disturb the first one. The first one was a full yibum.
That's called having relations with a co-wife. What's it called?
Right, with a yavam that the co-wife of the dead brother that he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have done that, but it's not going to mess up the ketana that he had relations with first, because that was the full yibum.
But is it called erva because of the husband, or is it called?
It's called erva because it's a brother's wife without the mitzvah of yibum.
It's called erva.
That's right, but it's not. Then the Gemara talks about: is it going to be erva? Is it goes back to be the regular brother's wife, or is it going to be chivin shelo bana shuvlo yivne ba'isachad bana v'leina bana shnei batim? So it might not be as serious as being a brother's wife. It might not be chorus. Here it's no chorus at all because everything's rabbanan because they're not really wives. But if he would have taken the ketana first and then the chareshes, so really the ketana should be able to remain with him. Because he got her first, and she's all, and she's a half. The half is not going to disturb the all. But the Gemara is going to say that the ketana should not stay with. He cannot remain with the ketana because the gzeira that maybe he'll take the chareshes first. What if he would have had yibum with the chareshes first? So that was a half yibum because we're saying that the chareshes is a half, and if the ketana would be a nothing, not married at all, so then there's no problem. He's allowed to marry her. No, not related, no problem. But if she'd be a whole. So he shouldn't. What?
Then it would nullify the chareshes.
So it seems not, because when they had the chareshes first and then the ketana, so then I think that this Gemara is going to say that he cannot remain with the ketana anymore. And let's see that inside. Or maybe I will put it on as we have enough text to read it together. If it's on the Chemi, then read on the Sefer. What does it say? The case with us did, Misha Inosu Shtei Somos, which are Ketana v'Chareshes. Someone had two wives, one a Ketana, one a Chareshes, Umeis, he died, and then the Yavam had relations with both of them. Which one first? The Ketana. Either he or a brother had relations with the chareshes after he had relations with the yavam. Both of them are asr. Even the first one also cannot remain. What?
Which she does first?
Yes, that's what I was going to say soon. The Gemara is going to say in one more line. But first it says over here, the Bryce ends off. And what should they do now? Which is the same thing as we said till now. That they should have done. They should have done lachatchila. That he should have done yibum and a get to the chareshes and given and waited till she became big. The Ketana became big, give her chalitza. And it says do the same thing also now. Even after he can't stay with her. He doesn't get the Ketana. He has to give her chalitza after she gets bigger. That's what the Bryce said over here.
The Eitzah is to do what we thought.
What we should have done.
If he did the Yivum to the Hareshet first.
Here says the case was that he did even to the Ketana first.
I know, but I'm saying, didn't we originally say he should do Yivum to her
and give a get, and then
So-
right, and then there wouldn't have been any of
But
it.
still, the Takana is the same.
Right. Even with the Eved, he also does the same thing. He gives a get to the Chareshes. He doesn't have to Yibman. He did already. He had relations with her.
Yeah.
Give a get to the Chareshes and wait for the Ketana until she gets bigger and gets Chalitza. That's what the Brisa says. Now, the Gemara is going to analyze what we just said. Bishlama Chareshes Knuya Mushuyeres Ketana Knuya Bena Knuya Rabbananhi. If we learn the Brisa, as we said the whole time, the green template, that the Chareshes is a half a marriage and the Ketana is all or nothing, and it's going according to Rabbanan that say that a Bia Psula, a Pia Psula is not a good Yibum. And you do need to get after that. Mishamachi tamtanat shetagel b'tachlos. The dilma kadem ubol chareshes bereisha v'avilah bia dektana bia psula. The Gemara goes on to the case. We understand that if the Ketana got married first, the Ketana, so really he'd be able to stay with her. But we're choshesh that in the case of the Gzeir, opposite, that he would have had relations with the chareshes first, and then with the Ketana, and then how do we tell then the Ketana cannot remain? The Ketana cannot remain because there was bia to the sister first. The sister, there was a chareshes that was half a marriage, and that stops that he shouldn't be able to take the Ketana. He shouldn't be take the Ketana since he had relations already with the other co-wife. And now that we tell him that he has to send her away, how does he send her away? Here it says, she surely needs a get. It doesn't say, but she surely needs a get because in the case that he took her first, so she's really the wife, and even if it was right, I think I got it right, that she's really a full wife and she needs a get in order to leave. And even if the Yibum, even if the Chareshes was a half a wife, now that she's a complete marriage, the Ketana, so she would need a get. But we're focusing on the fact that it says she also needs Chalitza. In the case where it would have been a Chareshes first and then the Ketana, does she need Chalitza? Why is it not enough to get rid of the Ketana by giving her a get?
Right.
It must be because it's a Bia Psula. The fact that he had first had relations with the Chareshes, and now he took the Ketana, he wasn't supposed to because since he had relations with the co-wife first, so he shouldn't have taken her. That's called a Bia Psula. And the one would say a Bia Psula is not enough to get a get, you also have to get Chalitza. A Bia Psula means that was it a kosher Yibum? It wasn't a good Yibum, but the fact that it was after the sister had Yibum. So he shouldn't have taken her. So then the Brisa would make sense that it's not enough to have a get. He also has to send away the Ketana with a Chalitza. But if it goes according to the Rav Nechemia, that's what the war is out to prove now. If Rav Nechemia is the author of the Brisa, Rav Nechemia holds that Bia Psula is good. And even though he shouldn't have done Yibum, if he did, it's a full marriage, and now it would be enough to give a get, and he wouldn't need Chalitza. So here's the Gemara's proof that the author of this Brisa is not Nechemia. To see the words inside, Yam Pishlama Chareshes is half a marriage. Ketana is all or nothing, and it goes according to Rabbanan that say that if it was a Bia Psula, it's not considered a Yibum, and you'd need a Chalitza also to get out of that bind. That's why she needs Chalitza also. In the case where the Chareshes would have been the one they married first, that's why the relation that he had with the Ketana afterwards would be considered a Bia Psula because he took her after the Chareshes, and he would have to give a Chalitza also besides the get. So even though he shouldn't have taken the Ketana after the Chareshes, but if he did, so it's also a kosher Yibum, and it'd be enough to get It's a marriage. It makes them married 100%. And now it'd be enough to give a get. Why does it say
Patra
chalitza?
means what?
What?
Patra means what?
That it makes them married. Be a psula patra makes them married, and it's a yibum, and then it would be enough to give a get. And it won't need a chalitza anymore. It must be that it's Rabbanan, not Ram Nechemia. So back to what we were talking about, this all goes back to the other case that we wanted to know if it's possible to explain this part of the Mishnah of Brisa that said that if the husband in this case would have married her, he can give her a get and send her away. We said that only goes according to the green template. We tried to get out of it by saying that according to the red template, it goes according to Nehemiah. We proved from this end of the brisa that Nehemiah is not the author of this brisa, and therefore the red template is out. And we still remain that the Ktana is the one who's all or nothing, and the Chareshes is the one who's after marriage. The Gemara finishes off. I could prove from the beginning of the brisa also that Rabbanan are talking. Diktani and Baal Chareshes no saying loget for hutra, but Lokatani and Baal Ktana no saying loget for hutra. Back to the brisa, just to the rest. In this case, it says in this case, in both these cases, we did it before. One case was where the husband of the Ktana died, and one case was the husband of the Chareshes died. In this second case, the husband of the Chareshes died and said that this woman has no Eitzah. She has no way, she can't get Chalitza because she's a Chareshes, and she can't get Yibum because she's a bit of a wife's sister, and she's stuck. On this it ended off, but if he did do Yibum to her, so he can give a get. And that's what we're discussing till now, is that because it makes sense, because either she's not chayv anything, she's not a, there's, how do we say it? That we said according to the green template, she's a half a wife, and what did the tzaddim? Either if the Ktana is a whole wife, then there's no chiyuv at all. There's no chiyuv yibum at all. She goes free because she's a wife's sister. And if the Ktana is nothing, so then he should have done yibum. And therefore, even though he can't do yibum because we don't know, and maybe it's going to be a wife's sister that shouldn't have relations with her, but if he did, then there's no tzad that he shouldn't give her a get, then she can go free. We want to get out of it because maybe some Nechemia talking that even though it's a bia psula, a get is good enough. But Rabbi Ashi says now that if that's true, then the Brisa should have bothered in the ratio also to say that what if the din that if he would have, in this case it says that what was the case over here, that this husband died, and it says over here that this woman goes out with a get. Is that what it says? That the Ktana can't stay with her. Why is that? Because there's a wife's sister in the way. There's a wife's sister that's interfering with the yibum. He can't do yibum. But if you say that a bia psula is enough to give a get, let's see what it says. I'm sorry, again, what it says. The Ktani Yibala Chareshes no sem laget futra, but lo Ktani Yibala Ktana no sem laget futra. It says in this part of the brisa, what does it say? That this woman over here, the Ktana, what's her din? If her husband died and the brother-in-law is also maybe the wife's sister, this scenario over here. So it says that she should get chalitza. She can't do yibum because it's partly a wife's sister. Can't do yibum, so she only has to wait until she gets big, and then she'll get chalitza. That's what it said in the brisa. But if you hold that if the Nechemia would be the author of the brisa, then either go the red template, the green template. The one is asking that if he would have done yibum, what if he did have relations with her? According to Nechemia, it would be enough to give a get, because he holds that a bia psula is enough to give a get. And the brisa doesn't end off in the ratio that if he had relations with her, it's going to have to give a get. In the second case, it says that if he had relations with her, he can give her a get, and that's enough. And the ratio didn't say that. And if you learn, Bishlam, if you learn that the Rabbanan are talking, in this case, it's going to be a bia kshera. Over here, it was a bia kshera. That's why get is enough. And here it's a bia psula, and it's not good. But if the brisa of Nechemia, and both of them are bia psula, so there's no reason why he would have said it in the sefer more than the ratio. From that alone, the Gemara wants to prove that the brisa is not from Nechemia, the brisa is Rabbanan. And that the Gemara answers, if that's the whole proof, we're not impressed with that proof. Chareshes the less lot to counter the Torah, Katani to counter the Surah. But Katana, this lot to counter the Torah, don't turn it to counter the Surah. In the case in the Brisa, when it said the second case, it said this woman is an aguna. This woman, she has no way to get out. She can't get chalitza, she can't get yibum. So there, it bothers to tell us that sometimes she will get out. If they had relations. They shouldn't have, but if they had relations, so then he'd be able to give her a get, a bia psula, and it'll work. But in the Reisha, where there is a Eitzah for her, she could wait until she becomes big and get chalitza. So there, the Brisa didn't bother saying that if you had relations biser, also it's enough to give a get. Even though if the halacha would have been true, the Brisa didn't mention it because there's a way to do it better. Don't do it biser. Here also, we're not telling you to do it biser, but we're just saying that here there is some theoretical way how she can get out to marry. If they would have had a relations biser, she'd be able to marry out. Even though it's a b'apsula, the get is good. But in the Reisha, since there is a way to get out in a kosher way, so the Brisa doesn't bother mentioning it. And in that sugya, quite a hard sugya, and comes out the way we said that the template is the way the Gemara explained that marriage of a chareshes is a half a marriage, midrabanan, and the marriage of a ketana is all or nothing. And in that sugya. Okay, the next sugya, we continue. Mishnah. Mishaya nasui l'shtei yesamos ktanos. Umeis. This is a little bit chazar because we just spoke about it now. We had this quoted this Mishnah a few lines ago. Here's the case where a person had two wives, both of them are ktanos, and he died. So
they're both Kedushin Rabbanan?
they're both Kedushin Rabbanan, and he should have.
They married off without.
You're right. Everything's Rabbanan, and now he should have taken only one. Right? He should have taken the Yavim should have only taken one. They're both equal. The Mishnah said before, if they're both equal, both Ketanos, both Chershos, then he should have only taken one. Like every time, like adults, that he should have only taken one. And here, he took both. Which he shouldn't have. Or the brother married the second wife, which he shouldn't have. Lo pasalas avishona. The first one, it still stays like any two wives. The same way that on the Raisa level, if there were two co-wives and he married the first one, then he took the second one also. So we tell him, what do you do? He shouldn't have done that, but there's no reason why his first wife he loses. No reason why he loses his first wife. And also, but so too on a Drabbana level, everything is the same thing on a Drabbana level, that he has two wives and he did Yibum to one of them. He shouldn't have done Yibum to the second one. But if he did, it's not a reason why the first one loses out. We tell him, send away the second one, the first one stays. And also the same thing would have been if both wives are equal, that both of them are chershos. Also the same thing, that he should have had Yibum only with one of them. And if he had Yibum with both of them, the first one doesn't lose out, she still stays. Period. But now, Ketana v'chareshes, he had two wives, but they're not the same. They're not the same kind of a wife. One is a Ketana, one is a chareshes. So we said before what to do. That was the whole sugi yesterday and today so far and yesterday. What should he have done? He should have taken the chareshes, Yibum with the chareshes, given her a get, and then waited for the Ketana until she became big and given her chalitza. That's what he should have done. What did he do? He had relations with both of them.
That's this on the order.
What?
First with the Ketana.
First with the Ketana. That he does mess up. We had this before on the Bryce said the same thing. There's a question in the gears over here. Some say over here low pasal, but we'll just read what it says over here. Pasal Saktana, that even though the Ketana was first, he does pasal. And we said the explanation, the Gemara said a couple of lines ago, the reason is because maybe it'll be a second case. We made Xer this case really the Ketana should be in, and he should be able, so the Ketana is the all or nothing, and the Chareshes is the half. And if the Ketana got in first, then the Chareshes should not interfere. He should be able to remain with the Ketana. But there's Xer because of the next case. If the first one that did even was the Chareshes, which we'll call a half a marriage, and then he had relations with the Ketana, which is a full Yibum, because the Ketana is all or nothing. This case also apostles because the Ketana, the Chareshes is only half a marriage, and the Ketana is a full marriage. So she interferes. We don't look at the Chareshes that it was she's in. She's not in. It's only half a marriage. That was that case. Next case. The next cases are easier, that one is going to be the rice and one is Rabbanan. We had a case so far of two equal Rabbanans, both Ketanos or both Chareshes. Then we had a complicated case over here of Ketana v'Chareshes, both of them are Rabbanan, but different kinds of Rabbanans. And now we go a case where there's going to be the rice and Rabbanan.
In the second case, where he did even on the
Chareshes first.
The Ketana is okay.
No. No, also not. He can't say with you either because the fact that there was, that's called a bia psula, that it wasn't the great Yibum, the fact that he had relations with the Chareshes first. That's why we said that we just explained a few minutes ago that since the Chareshes was first, we can go back a little bit, That's what the Gemara said. The reason why we're concerned in the first case is because of the second case. And in that case, it's going to be a bia psula. That's what it said over here. If you say that Chareshes is half a marriage and the Ktan is all or nothing, and it goes according to Rabbanan that bia psula doesn't pater, that's why it says Tam to Nashatayvel b'tachlos, because in the case of the Chareshes going first, then the bia Ktan is going to be a bia psula. That's how we look at it. So here, that's what we're talking about. That in this case where the Chareshes was first, and then the Ktana, so then he can't stay with the Pasalas Chareshes, and the Ktana also cannot stay. That's what here doesn't say about the Ktana, but the Bryce before did talk about. That's what he just said. The Ktana also cannot stay, and here the Chedesh is Pasalas Chareshes because that was only half a yibum, call it, and the Ktana is stronger than that, so it Pasalas even though she was first. Now it goes on to simple cases of the Rice and the Rabbanan. A man had two wives. One was a Deraisa wife, one was a Rabbanan wife, like Pikachas v'Chareshes. So that's simple. That once he had relations with the Pikachas, that's in 100%. So then doesn't disturb the first marriage. The first marriage is a full yibum and fully married. That after he had relations with the adult, with the Pikachas, the smart woman, that's the Kedushin Deraisa, so his bia to a Chareshes or brother bia to Chareshes, lo Pasalas Pikachas. It doesn't mess up the first marriage, which was a complete marriage. But the opposite case, if first there was a yibum to the Rabbanan, and then they had relations with the Pikachas, Pasalas Chareshes, it does affect the Chareshes because that wasn't a full marriage. She wasn't fully in. Right, the rice overrides the Rabbanan because the Chareshes was not fully in. How about Gedolo Ktana? The Gedolo Ktana is the same case as the Pikachas v'Chareshes. That Gedolo is a kedusha of the rice, the Ktana is a kedusha. Same thing. Same thing over again. That Boyav Mala Gedolo v'Choza Bala Ktana Oshabacha Bala Ktana Lo Pasalas Gedola. Since the marriage of the Gedola was first, and she's 100% in, that's the rice marriage. The first one, and the first one, the Ktana could not remain with that husband. Pasalas Ktana. And now, Rabbi Lazar Omer, in this case about a Ktana, go back, don't forget about Mion. There's a way to do Mion. And Mion absolves the whole marriage retroactively, and therefore he says, in the case where you want to say that there was a Gdol and a Ktana, and which case would be that Ba ala Gdola v'Chazar Ba ala Ktana. It doesn't talk about what happens to the Gedola, but it's
No, I thought it was talking about the last case.
the last case. So it says pasal aktana.
Yeah.
Pasal aktana. Is the Gedola affected in any way?
No, because that's a derisive case.
Right, but there was something in before that the Ktana he had a Yibum Drabanan with the other co-wife, so we wouldn't let the Gedola remain either. It's true, but the Raisa she's in, but we tell her to give her to give her a get because there was a Ktana of the co-wife, which was right on right, and the Raisa eyes nothing happened, but the Rabbanan eyes there was a Yibum from the co-wife, and he shouldn't have taken the second one. So Rabbi Lezer says that there's a Eitzah to tell her to do Mion, and she's not allowed to stay married anyway because she's a Chos Kutasa. This is really the Chos. She's the sister to the real Yibum. So really, she's not allowed to stay. So we tell her, do Mion, absolve the whole thing as if you're not here. And even though we had relations with you first, but it's not going to affect the Gedola because you're not here. He just has to be as nus. It wasn't a marriage.
But once you just Mion, it's like retroactive.
Right, Mion is retroactive. So that's what Rebbe Loza says. So Rebbe Loza very much reminds us
to save the rice.
to say right, that the Raisa was 100% the Raisa. It wouldn't be called a Bia Psula, that there wasn't, that there was a different Yibum that he did first. Not affected because that was as nus. It wasn't a marriage at all. So that's Rebbe Loza's Eitzah. It seems to be Rebbe Loza again. But Rashi points out that the Gemara neither says that's not Rebbe Loza again. This is Rebbe Loza before it was Rebbe Eliezer. It isn't the same person. Both of them say the same thing, that there's a Melandana Saktanish at the point that you give advice to the Ketana that she should do me and to take care of the problem. Before the case was that there were two sisters and the Ketana was in the way of the Yibum. Her husband can't do Yibum because she's depressed. So she should get rid of herself. She should absolve the marriage by saying Mion. And here, Rebbe Loza is saying in this case where there were two wives, not sisters, there were two wives, and the Yavam had relations with the Ketana first, which he shouldn't have. So in order that the Gedola should be able to stay, so she should remove herself by doing Mian. So we have again, once again, a Belazar that says, encourage the Ketana to do Mian in order to remove herself retroactively. Shmuel passed like a Belazar that you encourage the Ketana to do Mian. Belazar Amora, Belazar ben Pedah says the same thing. We pass like a Belazar ben Shamua, who's this Tana that was mentioned in the Mishnah. Belazar is the one who said that you encourage the Ketana to do Mian in order to remove herself. And the Gemara is impressed that Shmuel said 2 times halacha that you have 2 cases. 2 cases about encouraging the Ketana to do Mian in order to remove herself. One case is the case we just had now.
Encourage or
You teach her, what does it mean? You're encouraging her. You tell her to do that. Okay, whatever you want to say.
No, I want to know, is it Kalaimar or that's?
Yeah, the translation is the teacher. But it means that, and the even teaching also means you make her regular. The word limud means to be regular. That means you direct her.
Convince her,
Yeah,
direct her.
you direct her that she should do Mian. Here we had 2 cases a couple of pages ago and here. And that's what the Gemara is going to talk about. How come it not to be repeated 2 times? The Allah is Ma'am bin Saktana Shetemoin Bo. That's two.
Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel.
Yeah, and Rabbi Loza, that's not a problem. If 2 Amoram say that, then you know.
What is that
Tzricha means that Shmuel said it here and Shmuel said it a couple of pages ago. On the side, it tells us where the Shmuel and the Kufiyur. It says Shmuel said it 2 times. So in 2 different Mishnayos, there's Rabbi Eliezer and there's Rabbi Loza, and that Rashi points out that it's not the same person. That the Gemara neither says that one is Eliezer, one is Elazar, and both cases there was Esav to tell her, convince her to do Mian in order to remove the problem. What was the case before? That there were 2 brothers married 2 sisters, and then the big sister died. The husband of the big sister died, and the husband of the little sister, of the minor sister, is supposed to do Yibam, but he can't because his little wife is in the way. So we tell her to remove herself by doing Mian, and then the big sister will be able to do Yibam. That was one place where Rabbi Eliezer said, and Rabbi Shmuel passed him like that. And here's the case over here, that a man had 2 wives, a big one and a small one, and he had relations with the small one first, the Yavam, had relations with the Ketana first, and that is interfering with the Gedola, that to be able to stay with her with the Yibam he's going to do afterwards, because he had relations with one of the co-wives first. Also, Rabbi Elazar said she should get rid of herself by doing Mian. And Shmuel passed like that also. Is there any chiddush one more than the other? That's what the Gemara wants to know. Tzricha, that you have to have 2 times Shmuel should pass him like this man the Yamar. Here you see, by the way, here's Eliezer, and the next one is going to be Rabbi Elazar. Well, it doesn't even say so.
It's 2 different people.
2 different people.
What's we need to say it's 2 different people, so of course we need to say it's 2 different.
What's the difference? The halacha is the same halacha. If it's the same halacha, Shmuel passes like, what's the difference if it's a different person? He says
the same
concept.
That's what we're learning about.
Right. Why do we need Shmuel to say 2 times the halacha is Mam ben Saktana Shetemon? So tzricha diatna baha kamaisa ba'acham Shmuel halacha kabel Eliezer, that you say Mam ben Saktana Shetemon mishum de lo kiyem mitzvah yibum. Over there, the case was that there were 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and the little sister is stopping the big sister from being able to get yibum, because she's the sister's wife. So remove yourself in order that the sister should be able to do Yibam. But in our case, the kindness was Yibam. Over here, what happened? That he had relations with the small one and then with the big one. So he had relations with the big one. So it's a be a psula, okay, but he did Yibam. So you might think that there's no necessity of a mitzvah over here to tell her to remove herself.
When it says the low kind mitzvah,
Over here, over there. In the case of
to not.
He was not Makayim the mitzvah of Yibam, and her removing herself, but with Mian will allow us to do Mian. Will allow us to do Yibam. That's a good reason to do Mian in order to be able to do Yibam.
If he didn't say the halachas like that, he wouldn't have established Yibam.
Yeah, that's not the way to say it exactly.
The low kind mitzvah.
Yeah, but not because he didn't say the halacha. Over there, the reason why he's going to be lenient, so to speak, to say encourage her to do Mian. We don't like doing Mian, but the reason why over there he's going to say do Mian is because if you don't do the Mian, then you're going to hold back the mitzvah of Yibam. The case was 2 brothers married 2 sisters, a big one and a small one, right? An adult and a minor, and the minor is in the way, and the adult cannot get Yibam done. Her husband died, and she's waiting for her brother-in-law to do Yibam, and the little sister's in the way, so we tell her disappear by doing Mian. over there, we tell her to do mian because we should be able to do yibum.
Okay.
But in this case,
where you did the.
they had two co-wives, a gedola and a ketana, and he had yibum with the ketana and then the gedola. He shouldn't have, but he did. But he did the mitzvah of yibum already. The question is only, could he remain with her? Could he stay with her? Could he remain with his big wife? It's not for the benefit of yibum. It's for the benefit of remaining with her husband. So you might think that for that, I don't have to tell the ketana to disappear with mian.
Sort of like the chumrah to teach her to do.
Right, we don't want to teach her to do mian. In general, we
But
stay
here-
away from it.
So here it's because, so we can stay with her, not because of the mitzvah.
Right. So maybe I'd say that's not enough reason to encourage you to do mian. Here, the fact that they did yibum already, so then okay, both of them should leave. So we're not going to tell to do mian. If you only would say our case, the more saying the opposite far now. What does that mean? That you Gedol, in our case, that there were two wives that fell to Yibum. So the Gedola is here and able to do Yibum. He shouldn't have had relations with the Ketana first, but the Gedola is here. She's a Bas Yibum. Over there, the fact that the Ketana is interfering, but the Maisha, she's interfering. She's holding back. She's holding back the Yibum. So there's no Chiyuv of Yibum over there because the Ketana is in the way. But over here, that the Ketana, over here, the Gedola is Ramya Kameh. She's the one who he was supposed to do Yibum to. Does Rashi help with that? Here's Rashi. Ramya Kameh liyabumim b'shemachim advina namiyan diktana kedei shetishavim gedola. Really, she did Yibum already, but it means you want it to be a good Yibum. You want it to be a Yibum without not a Yibum puzzle, not a be a psula. So since she's the one who's supposed to do Yibum, so we'll try to remove the Ketana in order that it should be a good Yibum. But over there, she aval idach v'hidach hayos tigdola achos ishtohi neimol rami kamei. That the fact that the Lamaisa right now under the circumstances it's the wife's sister, so there's no mitzvah of Yibum. So we're not going to tell her to do miyun to remove herself. So kamash v'lam we paskin like Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Eliezer in both cases. So we do paskin that v'lam den sektana shetemoin. Even in both cases, in the case of before with the two sisters, in this case over here where there's one man with two wives, in both cases you tell the Tana to remove herself by doing miyan. I have a problem with all this Gemaros with miyan because we said before the only reason not to teach to do miyan is because she might get older and say, why did I refuse? It was a good husband. That's the only reason why we say Hachek min amiyunin, because she'll come back later on with tinus. You told me to do a bad advice. But over here, there's no bad advice. Here's a good advice because she can't stay with her husband anyway. So both Gemaras, I don't understand what's the side not to tell her to do miyan. The only reason not to, the Rashi told us, is because the Gemara said this because she might have charata when she gets big. But here's no charata
She
there.
has charata. Does that mean that the miyan was not good?
No, it just means that she'll have tinus on you. Don't give somebody advice when they're going to come back and say that it wasn't good advice.
Why only you're upset? Why only because they're going to say later? To my sense, it's a problem of giving some bad advice.
No, right now you might think it's good advice. The case of a regular meal, not all the fancy cases. A girl got married when she was young, Kedushin Rabbanan. She's having difficulty with her husband, and she asks you, should I do miyan? So don't teach her to do miyan, because when she gets bigger, she might say that he was a good husband. I was a kid, I was foolish, and she'll have charata that she lost her husband. The husband wanted her. They want to give her a get. She wanted to leave. So she should have said, I was a kid. How come he gave me such advice? So not maybe.
But still, even with that advice, she says, I don't want it.
So she goes out. She absolved it. And then, so we tell her, we Chachamim say, don't advise me until a girl, because she might have.
Come onto it by herself.
If she does it by herself, that's her. But if we're going to convince her, but these Gemaras that we're talking about, she has nothing to lose because she's usher to her husband anyway. So why is it a bad advice? If the whole problem of not doing miyan, we want to avoid doing miyan is because it might be a bad advice. Here, it's not a bad advice. If it shows a good advice.
That people see that they encourage her to do miyan.
Yeah, it was a great thing for her to do because she anyway was not going to be mutter with her husband. So might as well, clear the way for somebody else to have benefit. I think. So I'm okay. I'm asking a second question. I don't see how this fits with the Gemara before, that the whole reason not to do miyan is because she might have charata later on. Okay, just throwing in a footnote. Everything, now we have an easier Gemara. Everybody can come on board, even though it was hard a couple of days ago. But New
Very
subject.
good for the end of the share. Both guys.
I think it's easier. So the Mishnah starts. Yavam, and the question is even why, I'm not sure why this, and Mishnah here is, it's here. Let's see, the beginning it still belongs here, but a Ketana. Yavam Katan Shabal Yavam Ketana. Both of them are kids. The woman was married as a Ketana, Kedushin Rabbana. And it could be this case also with Kedushin Deraisa also. The father married her off. She's a Ketana, her husband died, she falls to the Yavam. Who's the Yavam? A kid. That he's also a Katan and a Ketana. Any problem to do Yibum? In the state of Katan?
I guess not.
No. By Chalitza, there's an issue that he has to be a Gadol Ish. He's a Ish. So a man, a Katan cannot do Chalitza. And that was that Ketana also cannot do Chalitza. That was also, but as far as Yibum, there's no hesitation. So it says, Yavam Shabbat, Katan Shabbat, Yibam Ketana, Yigdu Zemzeh. If they had relations, they did Yibum as Ketanim, so they should grow up together. What does it mean grow up together? So Rashi points out that it means that they, fine, if they want to live together happily ever after, that's great. But if they want to separate, so then they have to wait till they're Gedolim, because in order to give a get, he has to be a Gadol. They have to wait till, if they want to separate, if they want to stop the marriage, so he can't. Usually a Yavam, after he does Yibum, he can give a get if he wants to. But here he's going to have to wait until he becomes a Gadol, because a Katan can't give a get.
Mhm.
How about Bal Yavam Gedola, that the woman is a Gedola,
But he's a.
and he's a Katan?
Mhm.
So Tigad Lenu, she should wait till he gets big. It means if he wants to get, she can't get out until he becomes a Gadol. Okay, no difference.
No.
She should raise him. She should make him big. Yigdalu Zemzeh, both of them should grow up. And Tigad Lenu, she should raise him, so to speak. Wait. She's taking care of her little husband until he becomes bar mitzvah. By the bar mitzvah, then she can get a get if she needs. New Mishnah. This is like a new Mishnah altogether, a new parak if you want, a new subject altogether, nothing to do with anything. And also, nothing, thank you again, nothing to do with the Katan. This is regular Yibum. It could have been in a different parak, l'chora. No. Okay,
No.
something about a Yibam.
Yeah.
Here it starts. Let us make a period over here to put things in new subject.
That's a period there to wait till he grows up.
Right, two dots, if you like. The Yibama says, within 30 days of the Yibum, she says he didn't have relations with me. There was no, he didn't consummate the Yibum. He didn't have relations. And therefore she says, I need Chalitza. He says that I did. I had relations, and if you want, I'll give you a get. But no Chalitza, I did what I'm supposed to do. We had relations, and I married you, and if you want, and I'll give you a get. And she wants a Chalitza. She says, I can't get married because we never had relations, and I'm still, you can't send away a Yevama with a get. You need a Chalitza. So she's asking for a Chalitza, and he says no. We do force him to give Chalitza.
Meaning you believe her.
We believe her, or at least Choshesh for her, that she could be that she's saying the truth, and it's enough to force him to give Chalitza.
Even though he's saying.
He says, I did everything.
His testimony doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't mean anything. It's not enough, and we're still going to force him to. We'll see one more line. We force him to do chalitza, even though he
But
says that.
just
No,
reading this, I wouldn't think any of that is here. I would just think they didn't have relations.
she says not.
Mhm.
Oh, let's see a couple of lines. She says. Lone Valentine. I mean,
She says.
she says Lone.
Okay.
She said I was not. No, not yet.
I didn't have,
so-
he didn't have relations with me, so we.
So we forced him to give chalitza. But lachash loshim yom. But if it's ready after 30 days, and then she comes and says we didn't have relations, then then we just ask him. We plead with him to give. You can't force him. We say please. We're not we're taking her aside. We're not going to force you, but please do her a favor. She says that not if she's lying. What's the difference? But she's not going to be able to marry because according to what she's saying, she can marry and give her chalitza even though you don't want to. One more line. Uvizman shehu moda. If he agrees, he admits that he didn't have relations. Even if it's a year later. Also, if you didn't have relations, so then there's still an issue of yibum, and you have to give chalitza. Now, I guess not enough. So you see from the end over here that the case was that he was denying. He was denying. In the case where he admits, and there's no question. No question of a time limit if he did it, if he admits. But if the question is that he's arguing and says I did have relations, so it's difference between within 30 days, after 30 days, that the Gemara is going to say that a person usually is not able to hold in from having relations with a wife more than 30 days. So within 30 days, it's possible that he did not have relations, but after 30 days, we don't believe her that she says he didn't have relations. That's not human. A human that has opportunity to have relations with a wife is not going to hold back 30 days, unless he says so. If he says so, he says so. He's moda. But if he's not moda, now what's the whole issue over yet? The obvious question is, what's the big deal? Give her chalitza. What's the problem? So Taisa says that it's very degrading to get chalitza. Chalitza is spitting at him, take off a shoe. You're not a mensch, you're not a brother. So it's very degrading. So he says, I'm a good brother. I did everything I'm supposed to do. And now you're going to tell me chalutz anal and shake off a shoe and spit at him means the ceremony, the attack, whatever you call it, the ritual of the chalitza is really degrading him. Because it's a procedure. The procedure of, that's what I meant to say. The procedure of chalitza is degrading the man. And he says, I did everything. What are you degrading me for? Nowadays, we don't look at it like that so much because we tell everybody to do chalitza, and everybody knows that we're spitting at him. He doesn't deserve to be spat at. He would do yibam, but we don't let him. But if you look at it at a time when we tell him l'chatchila do yibam, if you don't, so then you're not a good man. Okay, so that's chalitza. So he says, I did, and she said, I didn't. Chutzpah, I did, and now you're going to call me chalutz anal, take off my shoe and spit at me. So he doesn't want to. So that's what we say. Within 30 days, it could be that she's right, and we'll force him to do chalitza. But after 30 days,
why force him to do chalitza? So do yibum now.
it seems that they don't want to stay together.
Do one time beer, then.
He says, I did be already. Like, what she's going to say again, like whatever the issue was the first time. I don't know what the issue is, but it could be the Gemara talks about that. I didn't go so far. It could be the Gemara's going to say
No,
something.
unless she's telling if the guy was married for a month and didn't have yibum yet, then he's not emotional, whatever. He's not a good husband.
Look, I think the Gemara is going to say something
Okay,
I didn't get yet. And then next mission is the same thing over again, but a different scenario. The woman, she vowed Isser Hana from the Yavam. She says, I make an Isra on myself, like a neder. Parshas Mata is coming up, that I'm not going to have. Means she can't have relations with him. If a woman makes a neder that she's not going to benefit from this man, she can't have relations. That's Hana. So this way, she's stopping herself from being able to have yibum. But there's a mitzvah of yibum, so she wants chalitza. He says nothing to do. Like you made your own problem. I told you to make such a issa. I'm ready to do yibum, and she's stopping. So that's her problem. So, and there's another yibum. If it was in the lifetime of her husband was still living, so we don't assume that the reason is because she's thinking of yibum, in her mind. She doesn't like him, the brother-in-law, and I don't want to, I don't want to see him. I don't want to have anything to do with him. Whatever else she says about him. Yeah. So then it's nothing to do with the yibum. It happens to have repercussions that then the husband dies, and then she falls to yibum. So then Agav, it comes out that she can't have relations with him, but that wasn't her purpose. So then so we do force to give chalitza because it wasn't her fault. It means the fact that she can't have yibum, what could she do? She didn't like you. And nothing to do with yibum. She didn't like you. She wasn't coming to stop the mitzvah of yibum. She was just stumped. She didn't want to be in your presence, but nothing to do with yibum. So
that means she also can't get hana from any present.
Right, yeah, that's true also, yeah. Can't have any hana, but including that he can't have relations. Yeah. So if it was in the lifetime of her husband, we don't say that she had a whole plan in order to get out of yibum. So it's Rahmanas on her. She's not going to be able to get yibum, and the husband's not going to give chalitza. She's going to be stuck. So we forced the husband to give chalitza. But la'acham says bala. But if she made the neder after the husband died and she knows that she fell to yibum, and now she's making the isser hana in order to be able to get out of yibum, so that's not his fault. Then he says this: she messed up herself. She hates me, and she's gonna make isser hana, and then she's gonna spit at me also, and take off my shoe and say that I'm a chalitza now. That's her problem. She made her own problem. So only Mevakshim and Meru Shachlos, so we ask him for a favor. It's true, she's bad and everything, whatever, she messed herself up, but please give her chalitza, bear the insult just that she should be able to get married because now she can't get married. Even though she's the one who's manipulating him. She made Isra Noah, and now she can't do Yibum, and now they're going to have to do chalitza. So we ask him to do a favor, to be out of the kindness of his heart, to let her, even though he's going to be bearing all of this insult over here.
In terms of the mitzvah, she doesn't have any choice.
Right, unless he's a muchashchin. The Gemara said before that he's he's full of boils. In a case that it's impossible to live with him, no regular woman would want to live with a man like that. So then we do force chalitza. But otherwise, she doesn't like him. So I think the point is when she gets married, so that includes like in the small print, if the husband dies, so then she's obligated to the brother also for the husband's sake. So she married on that condition also already. There is a machlokes Rishonim over there. If she has other salos, if she has other kindness, why she doesn't want to marry? Is it only something? That's no, it doesn't say. It doesn't say. It doesn't say. It doesn't say. I meant to say small print just figuratively.
She should ask if
A person should know. A person should
woman
know.
should ask if a potential husband has brothers.
Right. And we saw one thing we saw, which is really serious, was yesterday's Gemara, that if the brother is a chayrish,
Right.
so then she's stuck
And she's stuck.
because there's no chalitza.
If she doesn't have any children.
If you have no children, her brother's going to die. She's going to stuck with a chayrish, and even if he marries her, it's not going to be a one-time marriage. It's going to be without any get either. Can't give a get either. So there's no chalitza, no get. So if a person is marrying somebody who has only one brother, a chayrish, if there are many brothers, the other brothers will take care of it to give chalitza. But if there's only one brother, a chayrish, and she's
He's not meant to.
right, a shota, right. So then she's taking a chance by taking the marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's assuming she won't have kids.
Yeah, but she's no, it's a risk. It's a risk
It's in
factor.
mind, it's only if they don't have kids and
the husband
he
dies.
first.
Yeah.
Okay, then I don't know if a lot of people make that cheshbon.
Right. But you have to know taking a risk. You know,
People should, Al-Pi Shtadlos to be talking.
I don't know if they have another choice, maybe you should take another choice.
I've had the craft to say that they see the situation and they see that there's one brother who's a cherish or he's a short there, whatever.
Yes.
Couldn't they make a tanai in the marriage of the girl with her healthy husband? In the event that that her husband dies, she's not obligated to.
What does that mean? That there was after marriage the chatchila from the beginning?
Yeah, just to.
So and the whole marriage is going to be a bias nus. No, so all the marriage was a bias nus. They're going
No, I have a different.
It
doesn't help for her to make any,
I'm talking about the cherish, that she marries the healthy husband.
Yes.
He died. There was one brother who's a cherish.
Yes.
And the chances she has no children, so she's obligated. She's stuck with this cherish.
Yes.
yeah.
So why at the time?
That's the problem. So what's your solution?
At the time of the nisuin,
To the healthy husband.
the healthy husband, isn't possible for the great Chachmei Israel to make a clause that because there is
What should the clause be?
I have a
the
different.
clause is that if the husband would die,
Yes.
God forbid, in any situation,
Yes.
and there are no children,
Yes.
she's not obligated to have.
What does it mean obligated? You're saying that the marriage is not a marriage. They should say that the marriage is not a marriage. Which marriage? You say.
I'm saying that there's that.
What clause is that?
There's no.
How do they How do they take away? How do they take away Yibum? Torah says Yibum. How could they be
Because
smart?
he's sick, he's not.
I'm asking a question. How could they take away the
Ability-
Deraisa? How could they take away the Chiv Yibum? There's a Chiv Yibum Deraisa. Why is it wrong?
It's a cherish.
Why do they have two Rabbanan?
Because they said a cherish is the rabban.
The marriage of a Cherish is Rabbanan. If he's a brother of somebody made a 100% regular marriage, she falls to him with the Raisa. The Yavam, if a Cherish marries, a Cherish is Kedushin is not a Kedushin the Raisa. His get is not a get. But if he's a brother and she falls to the brother, that she married a good man, that's a Kedushin the Raisa. He has a brother, so she's a brother. So she falls to the brother. But the Raisa is a Chiv Yibum. The Rabbanan can't erase the Chiv Yibum the Raisa.
The only thing that they may be able to do is that when he gets married, okay, the original marriage.
The first marriage.
Before he dies, if they write up a get.
Yeah.
Just in case if he dies.
Oh, yes. They could get a get. That would be, and that they find in the Gemara sometimes, that there's an emergency get. What's an emergency get? That he knows he's going to die, and the brother is something like that, and there's no possibility. Sometimes he might be in the other end of the world. We don't know. Yeah, that they could do. They could divorce before.
They do that.
But what about the bet? Could it be proven? Can it be proven if the marriage have children? Possibly.
Let's say.
Let's say you can't have children.
Oh, so then he's saying that he's not able to do even no even the brother who cannot have children. Okay, that's something else. If he's a sorus, if he's sterile, that the brother-in-law cannot have children, so there's no chiv even to such a person. That's true.
Oh,
But nothing to do with the cheresh, nothing to do with the shota. It has to do with if that's a different problem. If he's sterile, that's true. Okay, the Gemara go a little further.
So we got like
Amisha says that the katan and the ketana they can have yibum. So the Gemara asks the kasha. The Mishnah seems to be against Rav Meir. The Tanya katan and ketana lo chosam lo b'yab. But Rav Meir says that a katan and ketana should not only not do chalitza, they also cannot do yibum, and that's against our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says that they could do yibum. The Gemara answers. The Gemara doesn't say it, but the reason why Rav Meir says is because maybe the boy is going to be a saris, sterile, or the girl is going to be an islandess. And they're not going to do, it's not going to be yibum. And if they're going to be having relations, so they're having relations, a brother-in-law and a sister-in-law without the mitzvah of yibum. So it's choshesh lamiyut. That's the famous Rav Meir is choshesh lamiyut. And even though it's not probable, but it's possible, so that's why Rav Meir says not to do yibum. A katan nektana. Our Mishnah says that you do. So it's against Rav Meir. I feel the Rav Meir. We could reconcile our Mishnah with Rav Meir. Kam Rav Meir gedola lekatan uktana legadol. If one of them is at least a gadol, the chad minayu biyadi sui, because it's a concern, because one of them is doing an avera. The katan doesn't do averas. The katan is a katan. He's not a bardas. His avera is not an avera. So if one of them is an adult, so then Rav Meir will say that a katan or a ketana, but the other one, the spouse, the yevama, is going to be a gadol. Then do it. Don't do it, because maybe one of them is going to be the katan or the ketana is going to be a Saras or an islandess. So then we're worried that one of them is going to be doing an avera. The adult is going to be doing an avera. But if both of them are ketanim, if both of them are ketanim, so then even if it's true that there's an islandess or a saras, but there's no avera because they're kids. But the Gemara says no, it doesn't say that in our Mishnah. Third line, the Mishnah doesn't talk about two kids. It also talks about one is a kid and one is an adult. If she's an adult, and also the Mishnah is not concerned, then you could do yibum. And according to Rav Meir, you shouldn't be allowed to because of choshesh that the kid is going to be a saris. That the Mishnah doesn't talk about, doesn't say do it. The Mishnah says if it happened. If you look at the Mishnah, it doesn't say what they should do. The Mishnah says Chozah from the city of Chozah.
Oh.
Rav Chanina Chozah. The Mishnah, if you look at the Mishnah, it doesn't say that they should do it. It said Yavam Katan Shabali Shabbat. It doesn't say that he should. It doesn't say Yavam Katan should do Yibam to a Ketana. It just says if they did, so they should grow up and give a get later. But it doesn't say what you should do. But the Gemara doesn't like that, because even if they did, that we tell them they could remain, that it says that if they did marry, so they should stay married. How could they stay married? Besides the Yibam, every time they can have relations, they might be doing an Issa, because if he's a Saris, so it's no mitzvah of Yibum, and it's a brother-in-law, sister-in-law without any mitzvah of Yibum, Kiv Kores. How could we allow that? So it's true. The Mishnah is not like a Meir. A period over there. New point. But Meir is Choshesh Lamiyat, and therefore he says that the Katan Ektan, a minority case, a minority chash, a small chash, that the kid's going to be a saris or an islandess, so don't do Yibum until they grow up, when we see that they're healthy. And Meir is Choshesh Lamiyat, so he wouldn't say that they could stay remarried. Katan Ektan should not get married, and even it's not new Yibum, and even if they did, they should not remain together, because maybe there's no mitzvah of Yibum, because one of them is a saris. Every bee is going to be an Issa, so stay away. So our Mishnah says not like that. The Gemara says, "Kiri kan lakim lachim shein v'hayla barachi." The what's the kasha that how could you say that it's a yibum? It's not a yibum, because the pasuk says the purpose of yibum is in order to give the brother a name. He should have children, and the kid, even though it's a bia, but it's not can't have children. The cotton can't have children. So why is that called a yibum? Forget about Rav Meir's issue that maybe he's a saris. It shouldn't be a good yibum because he's not able to have children. So their relation is not productive. Amar Abaye, Amar Kra, Yevamo Yavo Allah called that there's going to be a drasha to say that the pasuk says it's a good yibum, even though they can't have children at that point, but that's good enough. Any kind of a yavam, not only if he can have children. Now we do know that if he's a sterile, if he's a saris, we do know, you're right, that over there is no yibum. But this point that he's a katan only, but he's going to get bigger eventually, so we don't say that he's not called a yibum until he's of age.
How much is the pasuk?
Yevamo Yavo Allah. But that was Abaye's teretz. I have another proof to say that a katan could do yibum. Is it possible to say that if she falls to the katan, the yavam is a katan, the brother is a katan, and she's asi? You're going to say that the yavam katan cannot do yibum until he becomes an adult. That means that right now she's asi to him. Then later on she becomes mutter. Is that possible? If at any point of their existence, they became usher to each other. So then it becomes a Isser Eshesach, Shalom Mokum mitzvah. And even if later on they kicks in a mitzvah of Yibum, that Isser still remains. So over here, if you'd say that the Katan, as long as he's a Katan, there's no mitzvah of Yibum, then it can't be that it should be mutter after he becomes an adult. What is the Gemara entertaining? The possibility that as long as he's a Katan, that he can't have children, so there's no mitzvah of Yibum. Only after he becomes an adult, he can have children, then it kicks in the mitzvah of Yibum. It can't be, because if at that time it was Asr, then it shouldn't be mutter even after he gets big. Because it will be Asr, it will be Eish Sach Shalom mitzvah, it's not going to become mutter. And that tomorrow Sakasha, maybe it's so. Maybe if at the time that the woman fell to Yibum, there was a Katan, then it's not going to mitzvah even after he becomes an adult either. Who says? The Gemara does prove that if it's going to be mutter after, it must be mutter initially. It can't be that it was first Asr, then it became mutter. If it's mutter later, it must have been mutter originally. But the Gemara says maybe you're right. Maybe it never was mutter. If he was a Katan at the time of Yibum, that the brother died, that the kid brother is only a kid, so maybe there's takano mitzvah of Yibum even after he becomes an adult. That the Gemara says no. That we only exclude from this pasuk if the brother was born after, if the Shimon was born after Reuben died, so then it's true that then there's no Yibum. But if he's even 1 day old at the time that they're yachtav, they're in the same world, so then there is a mitzvah of Yibum, even though it takes 13 years more, but it says there's a mitzvah of Yibum. So we prove that eventually there is going to be a mitzvah of Yibum, and that shows that there's a mitzvah of Yibum even from the start also.
Yachtav is in the pasuk.
Right, 4 words. And as long as they're in the same world, there's a mitzvah of Yibum. Even though he's a kid, the brother died, and the same day it was the birthday. Mom, she was born, a kid brother. She has to wait 13 years until he becomes 13 years, at least 9 years old, till he becomes of age, and then he does become mutter. So you see that eventually he becomes mutter. It has to be there as mutter the whole time. You can't say that it was usher then became mutter. The Gemara goes in a few stages. That is a katan.
Well, is it 1 day old?
There's the mitzvah of Yibum.
Is that called mutter?
That's called mutter. First, the Gemara entertained that it's not called mutter until he can have children, 13. Only when and that can't be. If it would be usher, till then it wouldn't be mutter. The pasuk says that there is a mitzvah of Yibum.
45 years old, and she's very likely to become sterile, and the kids are 2 days old.
So she can't get chalitza. She can't. So we can't. But as a cane also, there's a din of chalitza as a cane also. No, she's not going to have children. So the pasuk doesn't mean to. The pasuk doesn't mean, or the zaken, the yavam is a zaken. The pasuk doesn't mean to exclude these people from the mitzvah of yibum and chalitza only if they're sterile. Islanders is sorry, but if there's a zaken or something like that, there's still chayv in chalitza and yibum, and that's what people do nowadays. That shouldn't happen. But if it happens, so then there's a mitzvah even on older people also. And here the Gemara says that a young person also that's too young can't remarry only with chalitza. So a woman her husband died without children, so she can't remarry only if she gets chalitza. Even though the brother-in-law is also an old man, he also can't have children anymore. But that's not a reason to permit without chalitza. And here it says that a katan also is too young. Also, there could be a yibum, even though he cannot technically have children at that being. Right?